movie, but it should be. It sounds like a movie that Zhang Yimou would have made. And it's a story of my grandmother and my granduncle. My granduncle came to Malaya, soon after the communist crackdown in China. So he came, he made some money, he went back. He had a wife, okay? So because he went back to China, prosperous man, by Chinese standard, Malaysian money is prosperous lah. So he went back there and he was in a good mood, and he was in such a good mood that he got his wife pregnant. And then they put him into an even better mood. So he went to the market, right, one day, and he bought so much food. He bought so much food that the market people asked him, "Why are you buying all this food for?" So he jokingly said, "To feed the army." The next day he was arrested. He was arrested because Hainan Island, where they are from, at that time was a popular place for communists to hide, during the crackdown against the communists. And so he was arrested. He was sent from the provincial prison to the town prison, and moved from prison to prison. No one could help him. His sister-in-law, my grandmother, at that time was only, I think, late teens, She had a younger sister, because when they were growing up, both their parents died by the time by the time my grandmother was 12, I think. So she brought the younger sister up based on the food that she sold from the farm, the family farm. But the younger sister, at the age of 15, joined the communists, were arrested, and was executed. So she has already lost one person that way, and she doesn't want to lose another one. So she kept traveling back and forth from the prison to the village, the prison to village, persuading the officials, "Please let him go. We are sorry, he didn't mean it, it's a joke." They wouldn't let him go. And of course, there is one way, right? And it's also a tradition that is very popular in Malaysia. She decided she needed to bribe them. And she started to ask for money from family members and all. Nobody would help. Finally, she sold the family farm because the sister is no longer there, right? There's very little use for it. She sold that family farm, used that money, got the brother-in-law out. The first thing the brother-in-law did was to hop on the next boat out of China and came to Malaya. He never saw his wife nor his daughter ever again, because they were supposed to come eventually, of course, to follow him, but they never got around to it. When they left for Malaya, soon after that, my grandmother and my grandfather followed, and the wife of my granduncle made my grandmother. Are you following? The wife of my granduncle made my grandmother promise that she will make sure that the granduncle doesn't marry again. That he will wait for her. Okay? So sometime, many years later in Malaya, actually they came to Malacca. And after many years, the wife still not coming, and he fell in love with a young girl. And true to her promise, my grandmother prevented that marriage. And then, from then on, my grandmother and my granduncle never spoke to each other again. They never forgave each other. And when I was 13, my grandmother, alone in her apartment, she hung herself. When I was 16, my granduncle, after going to play mahjong with his clanmate, one day, he disappeared. And the next day they found his body in the Malacca River. Who's to say that their choices was a result of their unforgiveness or their loneliness. But I think that sometimes there are things that we keep inside our hearts that are so dark, it just eats away at us for the rest of our lives. And so sometimes I think it's also useful, instead of just saying sorry, sometimes to offer forgiveness before the sorry is said. That's my story.